the U.S. economy is fundamentally sound, and that if it were to be extended, it wouldn't really disrupt the U.S. economy very much at all. It would hurt consumers, and we'd have to think about, if that continued, what we would have to do about that. But that's like really the last of our concerns right now, because we're very confident that this thing is going ahead of schedule.
Yeah, so that was an insane admission to make on national TV. But sadly, of course, par for the course for the Trump administration. Yeah, it'll only affect consumers, not the economy. Just the people who make up the economy. Just the people in this nation who are the economy and who elected us to make prices go down. They're the only ones who are going to be suffering. So don't worry about that. We'll figure it out.
Since the war began, the national average price for gasoline is up 24%, and diesel prices have jumped 32%. Mr. Secretary, when can Americans expect to see the price of gas come down?
Yeah, after the conflict is over, you'll start to see prices come back down. It is a short-term disruption in the flow of energy. Americans are feeling it right now. Americans will feel it for a few more weeks.
And that answer should also instill zero confidence in you whatsoever, nor should this one.
Are you confident that gas will be back under $3 a gallon by the busy summer travel season, Mr. Secretary?
There's a very good chance that'll be true. There's no guarantees in war. The time frame's still not entirely clear, but I think that's certainly a goal of the administration and very possible.
The Iranians are warning of prices hitting $200 a barrel. Mr. Secretary, should Americans be bracing for? Should they be worried that this war will actually drive the price of oil above $200 a barrel?
So I don't listen much to Iranian projections of what's going to happen.
So that's a no?
But there is disruptions of flow in a very important waterway. I would pay no attention to what Iran says, but there is a lot of energy that flows through the Straits of Hormuz. And depending upon the timing and the manner in which this conflict comes to an end, we're going to see some elevated pricing until we get there.
Did you hear a yes or no from Chris Wright? I did not either. He did not answer the question directly at all. And neither did Fox host Jackie Heinrich.
There are some headlines calling out the fact that he didn't answer the yes or no question. So do you expect that number could happen, $200 a barrel oil? Is that possible?
Now watch Kevin Hassett, the same man who isn't concerned about the pain being felt by, just the consumers who make up the entire American economy and are everybody in the country, watching that interview, and all of you watching this video now, covering for Wright and the administration.
The best measure of what you think or what you should think about the future of oil prices is what we see in futures markets. And I actually believe what we see in futures markets, which is that this is going to end relatively quickly. In the futures markets, they've got the price of oil dropping about as fast as I've ever seen it, going down in the end of the horizon to below $50 a barrel. And so that's what financial markets are saying right now. And so financial markets agree with what President Trump says, which is that this is a temporary shock, that we're not going to eliminate the harm from the disruption, but we're going to minimize the harm.
That was a word salad. That was a chopped word salad full of delicious vegetables. But if you thought that was a one-off, you'd be sadly mistaken, because Hassett parroted the same thing earlier in the day.
You've cited over and over the spot price of gasoline, which of course is affected right now by the disruption of the Strait. But if you look at the futures prices, they're expecting a rapid end to this situation and much lower prices. In fact, I don't think I've seen a sort of future price path with as steep a decline in all my years watching futures. And the reason why futures markets for oil are dropping down towards 60 and even below 50 in the long run is that we expect that if Iran stops being this disruptive terrorist force in the Middle East, that there'll be a boom in oil production and industrial production.
But gas prices themselves are up more than 20% since this conflict has begun. Jet fuel prices are leading airlines to raise ticket prices quickly. That's not my opinion. That's the United Airlines CEO who just said that. The American Farm Bureau warned of supply chain shocks when we already have record high input prices. So can you give us some kind of projection here on how this will impact consumer prices and for how long?
So we know how to minimize the impact of this disruption. Now, you can't make it completely go away, but you can minimize it.
Now, it's clear both Wright and Hassett are effectively telling the American people to shut up and deal with it when it comes to the volatility and massive price hikes in oil, gas, and other services and products. Just whatever. Like, don't look over here. Don't look also down at your pocketbooks, and don't look at your bank accounts on your phones. Don't do any of that, and everything's fine in that situation. And of course, they personally won't feel anywhere near the same level of economic pain as ordinary Americans will and are experiencing. So why does a disconnect like this exist in the first place? Maybe because we elected people that are exactly the opposite of draining the swamp, but in fact are the swamp, are in fact the elite in this country that are removed from the cares of everyday people. They don't care about everyday people in any way. They actively pass laws and take actions to make the lives of everyday people harder, so to line their own pockets just a little bit more. And of course, it can't be held to account. These grifters cannot be held to account because the country's news media is becoming captured by the Trump administration little bit by little bit, and its allies are doing a very good job of that. And interviews like this that could have gone a lot harder, like these interviews that could have gone a lot harder on the Trump officials, of course, are not doing so, and could even become obsolete even this level of mild inquiry and pressing when that media capture mission is complete, if we allow that to happen. So up to us. We'll see if we still have the ability to even make videos like this in the near term. So until then, I'm Ben Gleib. I have a big announcement coming soon. You can follow me at Ben Gleib on Instagram to see what it is. You will like it. I promise that. Okay, bye.